Octalysis continues to diversify their drafts in whatever way they see fit, but there's a clear theme of double support with the Whitemane and Tyrande, 2 for 2 so far. We'll see if LFM has some counters, maybe some bans to deal with that, but with Octalysis, they've shown that you take away one thing, they likely have another.
Yeah, I think the Whitemane is going to be something going forward against Octalysis a lot of teams might need to start looking into and finding a way to be able to rid of that, because I think that specifically the first altar fight over bottom showed that they have a really good understanding of how to function with the Whitemane and make the playmaking capabilities post 13 with the root. They've always been able to stand out there, but the early game healing capabilities of Whitemane, they seem to have a better understanding than a lot of teams in North America, and they really kind of exploit the advantages there.
It was a wild fight that took place on multiple fronts. The Whitemane, the key cog. We'll see what the battleground will be, as it's going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen, picked up by Octalysis here. Does put them into that second pick slot. And you mentioned maybe banning the Whitemane. You can only pick up so many heroes before that second ban. This might be a chance for LFM. Giving up the map pick will allow them to play around that dynamic with the draft. But Tomb of the Spider Queen is a map where we've seen Diva games for Octalysis. So that is always a threat. 4 games played, 3 wins, so only that 1 loss on Infernal Shrines versus Heroes Hearth. So another trick up their sleeve potentially here.
Yeah, but that is one of those situations that, strategically speaking, I think if you approach this draft, if that is the curveball you're going to get from Octalysis, is the curveball that has the biggest background of evidence, you know, how to be able to deal with it, how to look at that when it comes to draft. So I look at that and I go, I want them hopefully to move. That is their curveball here for me if I'm LFM. Question is, can they push that into that area? And even if they do they have the tools, you know, accurately enough to be able to hold their own against the Diva?
We saw LFM try and pick up an early Uther in their 1-2 slot before the second ban for fear that it might go over to Octalysis. This is a battleground with different play style, more priority on wave clear. We saw the Deckard in game number 1. I wonder if now's the time for Dark Chimera to say, maybe I can play the Tyrande here. Maybe I can first pick this, and then we play around that. Or very much likely we see a Johanna in response with the blinds. Works well against Tyrande, but when there's 2 supports, one of them heals through mostly ability damage, one of them heals through autos, you can only neutralize one.
Find out here. Is the draft about to unfold? I think the offlane priority also might be something that adjusts a little bit here between the 2 teams. Blaze is something that into a double support, I can't help but feel like I would always want, having that extra amount of time to be able to deal and hold my own, especially with Tyrande in the meta a little bit more on a wave clear oriented map like this. Another thing to keep in mind on Tomb of the Spider Queen is Tyrande, with the early game kill potential and threat that normally she provides within the meta itself, she also struggles against those later stage powerhouses that have good wave clear. What I'm talking about here is Leo. Leo is very good on Tomb of the Spider Queen, and usually is a soft-ish counter to her, again, approach to the game.
The immobile backlines definitely is something that Leo has started to rise in priority more and more. As some of the reworked heroes that are coming in, like the Tyrande, like the Jimmy Raynor, they lack mobility. You saw during our break, if you were watching, we had Cloakin show us the Brightwing rework that's imminent at some point. We also have the Kerrigan rework and the Garden of Terror map rework. So we get a look at Brightwing. Murderous eyes right there.
Fight time.
I'm actually, can we cut that? I'm kind of nervous. That's on my side of the desk.
What do I got on my side? I got a Murky. That's way more appealing.
Ooh, but on that Butcher shirt that I tweeted to Justin for inspiration for his drafts today,
yeah,
he's carving up a Murky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sergeant Hammer ban here from LFM. They rid of the Junkrat on the back end there. I feel like that Junkrat, I'm going to need time to figure it out, but to me that tells a lot more than I think that Octalysis maybe needed to indicate towards their thought process here. Not so much just in this draft, but actually the entire maybe approach to Tomb of the Spider Queen with the value in the wave clear. See where they get the power play there, as the Tyrande is the first pick for LFM.
The Leo could just as well be played by Goku.
Yeah.
At some point. And if you did want to go Entomb and play with a Diva, you lock somebody in that Entomb and you have a special delivery.
It used to be really interesting. It was one of my favorite kind of small intricacies of Heroes of the Storm, was Tyrande versus the Leo, because you start the Wraith Walk, the mark goes down, then it amplifies the damage, so then you got to stop the Wraithwalk faster. But you stop the Wraithwalk faster than your Lunar Flare range. So it's like this weird race of like, do I start the Wraithwalk here? It's like one of the only heroes that threaten Wraithwalk at all. And I really like that kind of playoff. But then it goes, that's in the early game. But then as we get later in the game, Leo starts that Wraithwalk and he goes, I'm going in. Like,
when is this thing going to end? Please get away from me.
Yeah, it's pretty wild here. As we get LFM moving in with the Blaze pickup and the Johanna, a lot of synergy there, but Tyrande doesn't have a very easy follow-up to either one of those immediately. Blaze would be the easiest just because of how big his stun range is, but debatably has to risk his positioning, right? It's the trade-off of the Murden versus the ETC, if you will.
And the most disappointing part about this with the Johanna pickup is that now Butcher seems highly unlikely.
Yeah.
So my feelings been absolutely crushed here by LFM. No consideration. But Genji will be banned out, not willing to pick that up. For Octalysis, Draded, I always bring up this stat. Draded was on this LFM roster in Phase 1. Got picked up by Octalysis when they made some changes. A lot of respect as we see the Zul ban there. But a lot of respect towards Draded's Genji was imminent, was relevant because he was top 5, top 6 in overall KDE, not in North America, but in the world, with the likes of Rich, Snitch, a lot of the top tier players. So he's always a threat.
Phoenix Tassadar pickup here for Octalysis. Is that last pick Murky?
Nah, that's the Diva.
Are you sure? I think it's got to be the Murky.
That's the Diva.
Let me dream, okay? If I get to have if you get to dream about Butcher,
yours is Murky on Tomb.
I'll take that over Butcher all day, as long as it's paired. Anything that involves pairing Murky with shields from Abathur or Tassadar, I love how annoying that playstyle is. Like, I hate playing against it, but I love watching it in action.
That would be wild. Hanzo, and a double support for LFM.
Taking a page out of Octalysis' book here. There it is, baby!
We get it! We get it!
The J-How pleasing is now completed. We've got ourselves one Butcher.
I've got goosebumps. The excitement is real.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and take the mic off because I don't want to listen to the fresh meat conversation.
Yes!
You know, I'm not going to lie. I envy you. I wish I cared about a specific hero in Heroes of the Storm as much as you do of this, but
the minute somebody backdoors a keep with Sylvanas, you will see me do circles on this desk. For now, the Tassadar makes more sense. Shielding a Tassadar. The problem I have with the Butcher, one, you have a Johanna. On the other side with a blind, you have Blaze that can stun you. So there's an interesting dynamic with the unstoppable. So you're unstoppable while you're charging, but if you time abilities like a Kel'Thas Gravity Lapse or even your Lunar Flare, if you know you're about to be charged, you self-cast that Lunar Flare or just right in front, and he'll be stunned. You get stunned, but he gets stunned conversely. Double support. I don't know where the blowups come in. Hanzo has natural agility. I'm still excited though. There's a lot of cons on the other side. Very good draft by LFM to counter the style play, but I still get a Butcher.
There's only one question I gotta ask. Is it Lamb or is it Furnace?
Dread that last night on the ride home because I made the joke. I'm like, man, my Butcher's like level 50. You know, I played Butcher on a couple Smurfs, right? I have fun there. And I'm like, I always pick Furnace West. I've probably played Lamb less than 5 times. He's in the ride home last night. He says, have you really only played it less than 5 times? I'm like, dude, I don't even know if I've played it 5 times. Only Furnace Blast.
How? How have you played so much Furnace Blast? Like, no wonder you love the Butcher so much because you just haven't even played the real character. I don't even know.
The thing is, why do you need to chain them in place when you can just explode them and kill them? 500 damage on that explosion. Don't worry, I know the numbers. You look at the tooltip, it's 500. It's there. Butcher has wave clear town at level 1, so that does help here on Tomb.
With Hamstring, which is what we get there.
But it doesn't work on monsters. It's only minions and mercenaries, so that's a key thing to note when it comes to clearing objectives.
Droplets, eats the root, eats the follow-up. Fresh meat, it smelled, but the blind comes in, and it is quickly felt by Octalysis. Bud's trying to kite away, gets himself a potion, and they survive.
It was already starting off so bad. Whew. Sigh of relief here. Unable to get the meat stacks. So 20 meat whenever you get a hero. Minions, you have to walk and pick it up. So important to stack that up. Once you're at 200, you don't lose it. When you die, you lose meat. After 200, you no longer lose it, and the only way you can pick up meat is by hero kills. So that is a fun dynamic for my Butcher players out there.
Stun combo comes out, blind landed. Octalysis lose themselves a Phoenix. Jayhao, I don't want to raise some of the glaring typical problems we see from Butchers, but we might be seeing some of them already come to light a minute in here for LFM and Octalysis.
Well, the thing about this draft, which is more forgiving as the game goes on, more meat, more auto attack damage, Yrel. I don't think this composition works without a Yrel. Post level 4, you get the dive buddy, you get somebody that gives you 35 armor on your way in. At level 7, you can either go the extra attack speed as Goku under assault here. You can go the, or not attack speed, but movement speed on your mark. But there's also spell armor when you charge. So you have lots of potential armor that could come out between spell armor and just the general armor with this composition.
Droplet's in a tough position there for a moment. Kadem going to land onto Goku. That interrupted his leap opportunity for a second there. Starts the channel, able to make it out now. So far, LFM found themselves the 1 kill. They've been in control of the laning situation for now. But as you have said already here, you know, as the game moves on, Butcher can become pretty problematic. It's just, can he find ways to be able to gain that momentum?
I mean, this used to be the battleground. Old Butcher, you could really stack the best off of minions. As much Butcher as I play, I know, look, there's a lot of pros and cons.
I think
there's a lot of tough spots here. There's the dead Butcher.
Combo comes down there. You know, I think what you intended there, Jay, is that there's a lot of cons. There's some pros, you know, there's a lot of cons.
It's like, well, you have to last pick it, else they pick a Cassia, and then you just wait till the next game to play again.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, you know, like, I love me some Butcher as well, but there's very much, what I'm trying to paint is there's a reason, you know what I mean? It's not like everybody universally agreed, you know, Butcher isn't that cool, so we're not going to select him. It's just that he does come at a very high risk, I'm going to say medium reward situation.
Whew, you have not stacked up a Butcher then.
But well, along that line is he can become, based on that theory we were talking about a little bit earlier, of Octalysis oftentimes find themselves with very win harder compositions when they're ahead. Butcher is a win harder hero, very much so.
Lamb to the slaughter. Planet Crash.
I mean, that's a tough time if you're the one stuck on that leash, I can tell you that. Justin might be caught on a leash there for a moment as he went in with that ruthless onslaught. Got the interrupt, able to kite away for a moment, but every skirmish here kind of going back and forth between the two. It seems like LFM has been able to pull ahead. Not so much actually over that last one, though. And Goku getting those gems in, that was a big win there. 31 dropped off for Octalysis here.
More armor by way of Tassadar's level 4 talent. Win that shield, or if that shield breaks, you get more armor off that. So they're definitely a high priority built around this Butcher comp. They have other elements, but building around one hero with the super risk of a Butcher is always hard to pull off. And if you win, it's probably not an easy win. But the rest of the game, the double support for LFM, every time I look at the health bars, Dreadnought, they're all very much healthy. They're doing enough to zone out. They pick up the first Web Weavers of the game, does LFM. So they are in charge. For those of you that are wondering, only 33 stats of meat for Butcher at the 5-minute mark. That is not a mark you want to be at.
I was going to say, you know, I'm no Butcher expert here, Jayhao, so I'm going to ask, can you set me a standard I should be looking for when it comes to those stacks? Like, what's my time frame? Am I looking for 10 stacks a minute? What am I looking at?
Well, here's the thing. In quick match, you're already fully stacked because, you know, people are running all over the place. Easy Butcher game. For competitive, it's hard because we haven't seen Butcher in this. I mean, I saw Dignitas play him the previous week. Prismat just able to dodge that stun there with the warp out. It's tough to complete. I would have liked to have seen more concise rotations. They've gone in on a few kills. And this is a map that is forgiving in getting it off of minions. And that's the thing that they haven't done. The chop meat allows you to clear those minions much quicker and be more self-sufficient in stacking those. But they've been pretty unsuccessful so far. All it takes is one double kill, and that just skyrockets. One kill is enough to justify your rotations. Justify is what we'll call it. He did go spell armor on his charge at level 7. So armor for days. That's 50 spell armor when you charge somebody. Hit them with the charge, I should say.
If I Shadow Stalk while you Ruthless Onslaught, does it break it?
If you Shadow Stalk?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think it should. It used to in the past. Fog would
it
break
should. Anytime you become invisible, you
should break it.
You break it.
Just one question that might come to light in this game that, you know, upon reflection, I was like, you probably played this matchup actually enough to maybe know that.
Well, the other part is that level 7 talent, you have to make impact with that. So if you time it, you get the stun, and all of a sudden it's like, well, you're not unstoppable because your E canceled, and you're not getting that spell armor. You're now more susceptible. So that is a very interesting point you bring up.
Now with the first Web Weaver phase completed, 3 front walls and a lot of damage done towards that bottom 4 for LFM. Pretty successful first Web Weaver phase. 16 gem turn-in by Draded, interrupt there by Swabs. Whitemane's got one more maybe available as Droplets throws down that scouting arrow.
Well, they got the walls down. Getting a fort in the early game is where the snowball happens. For Octalysis, as we are going to see Figgy under assault, nowhere near enough meat to be really threatening, but the experience, Octalysis has held on up to this point.
They have very much so, kept it even, and now going to have their very own Web Weaver phase to claim for themselves. Rogues are here, J-How. We get the answer. It is Lamb to the slaughter.
If they lose, we know why.
Look
Oh,
at that.
nice Lornado. That's going to be a couple members into the bunker. Biggie gets knocked, or excuse me, Fury gets knocked back. Nice play by Goku, but he's taking a lot of damage on the front line. We'll have to go back to see if he has a tap to get some health and mana.
And even though it doesn't maybe look like it, at least now, if Octalysis can't reinitiate, that's a major setback.
heroics.
Trading all the heroics on both sides while Web Weavers are coming out is a win for LFM. It makes the defense a lot more realistic and problematic for Octalysis because they don't have necessarily the best wave clear and siege opportunity. Stun combo landing out there. There's the jet propulsion outward, but no brand was actually used quite yet because another hamstring lands. Goku chasing it down. Figgy not going to make it out of here as he's first to drop. Fury lands the 4-man condemn back, but this bottom Web Weaver is getting the siege necessary for Octalysis.
Yeah, Figgy did a very good job. He knew that he was going to be stunned, put that Lunar Flare, which is why we saw Justin unable to land that mark. So they did inevitably get the kill. That's now 98 stacks for Butcher, 200 the magic mark, and then you get the bonus attack speed to go with all of that auto attack damage.
Found Dark Chimera, full long combo there coming from downtown. There's the Lornado. Justin moves up, but LFM's just fine for now. Dragon's Arrow coming out from above. Droplets maybe coming out over the wall. Salva going to lock down 4 members of LFM as it comes out, but Goku is going to be the focus of LFM for now. He leaps away, giving out armor, and Octalysis is able to make it out of here.
Probably would have got the kill with Furnace Blast. It's on a shorter cooldown. Just saying. Lamb to the Slaughter was on cooldown during that engagement.
I can't handle you right now.
I just see you looking at me out of the corner of my eye, but I'm refusing to acknowledge it.
Droplets getting threatened when 13 picks up. Expect maybe a bigger setup here. A huge setup as the Lamb comes out. Gonna lock down 1.
Oh, that healing though.
Hardened
Oh,
defender.
the Droplet's in trouble. There's the Archon use. Justin, see if he can track down another one. There's some meat right above that wall. If he can make it up there, it does expire. I think he's actually going to miss out on getting that stack. Realizing it now, telling Buds, get the heck out of the way. Did it go up?
Yeah, he got it.
Yeah, 120 now. For Tassadar, you mentioned he does put out that damage in the secondary role. A lot of it is later in the game once you complete the Psystorm quest, which he's done. But the Psionic Echo at 16 is where the wave clear and the damage really comes in. We also know that Archon, very powerful in the later parts of this game.
Also with the nullification kind of picked up there at 13, the single target removal of mainstream damage is very, very easy. And when we look at LFM's composition, there is 1 damage dealer. This is a double support, double warrior. So that 13 pickup there for Octalysis Draded is going to be very high impact over these next couple of skirmishes, ignoring the damage output of the Tassadar versus not. Bunker force there by Goku.
Yeah, that was a very old Butcher. You got to hit W there, bro. Goku will manage to come over and pick up those gems. 13 just missed, wasn't able to lock in that route fast enough for Whitemane to try and get a potential follow-up on that.
Knights are going to be started here by Octalysis, and they have 100 gems. in their hands. They have a huge playmaking capabilities here. But the boss is now going to be picked up by LFM. See if Octalysis actually sniff it out. If they do, they're going to be down the Butcher. Bunker's not here, but Starfall's really good. Same with Aegis when it comes to the control point. This is going to be tense here. No Butcher, 4 versus 5. He's going to be here in 5 seconds. Goku leaps up. That is a 5-man salvo, 5-man Scarlet Aegis going down here. Focus going on to Goku. Lambda Slaughter is there. There is the Arden Defender. Dark Chimera is going to drop.
Oh my goodness.
And J-How, this is fresh meat.
It's Butcher
over.
time, baby! 200 stacks, we're ready to go. And all of a sudden, Justin is like, it's full beast mode now, and all the plays there made by Octalysis with the 5-man team wipe. This game just exploded. No gems left on the side. We got to take a second look at this, Dread.
The setup here to the initiation. Goku being the man, separating himself. A huge salvo there over from the side of Prismat was very well done. Lambda the Slaughter gaining value out of the silence, but Goku's decision-making to get the solo leap and timing of the Arden Defender was so clutch here for Octalysis.
Dread, there was a lot of action in there, but I know you love support play. A fatty Emerald hit in there. That 75% healing reduction in the middle of that was just icing on the cake for Octalysis. Now they can threaten to end game on any of these engagements. They have the talent tier advantage. Justin, once he gets on top of a hero, he's got Dark Chimera in his sights. There's going to be some autos, but he's able to survive, as I believe a blind might have came in. But the bunker down, the Web Weavers and the boss on the core as Butcher has fallen.
Salvo comes out. No damage to set up. Oh, actually enough damage to get the kill there on the back end onto the Butcher. He goes down. 4 versus 4 here is 60% and counting onto the core. Octalysis got the damage coming out, 30%. LFM trying to hold their own with the blind. They have no auto attack damage, but it is not going to matter. Octalysis have the tools, what it takes here, and take this series 3-0 over LFM.
We've said it the last few weeks. It's not just that they're winning, it's how dominantly they're winning. 13 minutes and 6 seconds. Average competitive game time in HGC League play is somewhere around 18 minutes when you balance out all the maps. Tomb of the Spider Queen, we know, can be an eternal map at times. But this is a 13-minute game. It is not just that they're winning. It's not just that they're doing it with whatever draft. It's they are doing it in times that just seem like we rarely see this. And it's not just LFM. They did it against Tempo Storm last week. They are doing that. It is game times that you see. If you go and you look at Gen G stats, it's probably somewhere like 15 and a half, 16-minute game time. They are an anomaly. They are on another level. Dignitas is up there in EU, but EU has a slower pace. But for Octalysis, the last few weeks, the game time at which they are playing at is unparalleled right now.
And I think the best way to maybe talk about this and why it is so weird, I guess the kind of trend from Octalysis is that it's not that we get a team that is willing to deviate from the norm and have that level of dominance. It's that I feel like if you were to look at how you talk about teams in North American or even just international history, you have the learning of the standard meta, then you go innovation on your own, and then usually you escalate. If you truly are a great performing team, you get a point where it's almost playing with your food, right? Where Gen G will bust out the Murkies, those kind of things, and they just dominate with it. There is a huge step in all that just seemed to be missing from Octalysis, and that is the dominating with standardized meta for a long period of time, or even a small period of time. It just was that huge leap over, and then we still get this dominance with the wild deviation and level of play here. And that is the one thing that makes it go, again, how long? It got wilder considering that it is up against LFM, but I think for me, I'm still torn. I don't know if this is a huge high or a huge low for this type of roster.
The good news is Octalysis is firmly in the playoffs. We know that without a doubt. The fun thing is they'll be keeping their eyes on the next game. We're not ready to go to break yet, don't worry. But the next game is Heroes Hearth versus Team Freedom. If Heroes Hearth beats Team Freedom, they're playing for seeding at this point. If Team Freedom wins, they're locked into one of the 2-3 spots. If Heroes Hearth wins, then Octalysis and Team Freedom is one of our matches in Week 10, which means that's a potential playoff showdown, but it's also contention for seeding because then Octalysis would have a chance to overtake Team Freedom in that matchup. So there's still a lot at stake in terms of the shifting. Both teams confirmed for the playoffs. Heroes Hearth, we know, 1 game away from just clinching their spot. 1 game, not 1 match. 1 game away from locking in BlizzCon. So it's for seeding right now. And LFM on the other side, something you mentioned earlier, is the fact that they didn't get any games, and they need games. Speaking of games, we had a 3-0 today for Octalysis. We got Prismat on the line here to discuss the world's best hero, the Butcher. Prismat, welcome in, and thank you for picking the Butcher.
Hey there. It was an interesting pick. Wouldn't have picked it against a better team, I think.
But let's be honest. You're in draft, and it's like, all right, we're up 2-0, and you're drafting. You pick up the first 2 picks, and you said, let's do this for Jay Howe. Is that the comms at the time?
Pretty much, yeah.
All right, let's take out the Butcher of this equation. You guys are doing it your way. We saw Tyrande Whitemane. We've seen you use Uther Whitemane in the past. You guys have a lot of focus, a lot of sustain. These drafts, you are finding advantages at seemingly every corner of the draft. We were talking about before we got on here the dominance in which you guys are doing it. It's not these 17, 18, 20-minute games. You guys are now winning games in 15, 13 minutes. What is it about not just the drafts, but your play that's allowing you guys to close out these games in such a dominant fashion?
I think other teams, other players think that our drafts are cheesy, but I think we've really proven that these are solid, viable picks. They're not just like, oh, you just ban out one of these heroes and then the comp falls apart, or oh, you just change your playstyle a little bit and then suddenly none of the heroes work. It's real picks that are actually effective and that can actually win games effectively.
It seems to
and
be,
just overall, we've been a lot more consistent too.
well, the consistency is definitely showing up. I mean, we see so much progress with the way that you guys have played it. It's been great. I'm sure Dred's got a lot of questions for you because you guys are giving us the show as of late. I'm going to send you over to him.
Hey there, Prismat here. And, my question, it comes down to, with the kind of validity, I guess, that you have towards some of the picks and bans that you guys have had here. My question comes down to why, at least from my interpretation, it felt like against Heroes Hearth Esports, as the series went on all the way through game number 5, things got closer and closer to norm, and the more confidence and kind of skill gap that may exist between you and your opponent, the more confident you are with your drafting and the wildness that kind of we can get from that. What is the justification, I guess, from that? Is it just you guys wanting to hide that much more, or do you guys truly believe that it is in your best interest, I guess, to, again, change depending on your opponent?
I think the biggest thing in the Heroes Hearth series was that the draft warped really hard around Sergeant Hammer, and that just caused a lot of issues for us, where we weren't playing around it effectively when we had it, and then when they had it, we weren't able to counter it effectively either, and that just threw our drafts off a lot.
So you feel like if you were to look at the entirety of all the drafts throughout the year, you would actually say that the Heroes Hearth series is the outlier within those drafting purely on the hammer, manipulating the draft enough, and then all the rest are closer to what you consider your guys' meta moving forward?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, then I'm excited to kind of watch that unfold, especially here with the dominance that you have had here as a roster. And also, double support. Is there any time or place that you guys feel like that is not going to be an option if you get yourself the Whitemane Tyrande kind of hybrids?
I think there are a couple maps where it won't work on, but just overall, Tyrande is just absolutely insane. Just one of the most broken heroes in the game right now. And even before Tyrande got reworked, there were some thoughts about double support with this team. And one thing too on that point is that Medivh, any comp with Medivh is effectively a double support comp. And that enables the Zul kinds of picks. And then the same thing here where we can just run a different support other than Medivh and just still play those weird tank / frontline picks. So I think just the big issue is Tyrande's insane, Whitemane's pretty insane, Deckard's pretty insane, and they just give tankiness to other heroes. So the hero doesn't need to be tanky in the first place. You can have a 500 HP hero like a Murky, but if a Tyrande's sitting there pressing all our buttons on him, he's not going to die. He's going to be tankier than an Avatar Muradin. And that's the big issue right now.
Well, thank you very much there for that insight and kind of perspective, and congratulations on the win here, Prismat.
Thanks.
Prismat, obviously leaking strats for next weekend as we expect a Murky. But Prismat, you guys have one matchup left, but that is also the matchup that we are going to see Team Freedom versus Heroes Hearth. Team Freedom, you guys play them next week, but if they lose today versus Heroes Hearth, you have a chance to climb up in the standings about that. Are you guys sitting down and watching that as a team? Are you guys really focused on that? Are you guys just comfortable with, look, whatever happens, happens. We know we feel good going into the playoffs. What's the mindset for the rest of the weekend?
We've been watching Freedom pretty closely, and overall, since the Western Clash, they've been underperforming pretty heavily. Even like there was one week against Endemic, they lost 3-0 when Endemic was using a new player. It was, or was it 2 subs that they were using? It was something ridiculous like that. They just got 3-0'd. And overall, they look significantly weaker than from the Western Clash. So, should be pretty simple. The other thing too is that we haven't been scrimming against them at all. So our meta is completely separate from whatever their meta is in their own scrims against other teams. And one big thing we've seen from that is Arthas has been a pretty high priority for those teams, and we think we can just beat that kind of thing really easily, that kind of drafting style, that kind of meta.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch as we get down to the home stretch. You guys clearly trending upwards since the Western Clash. Congrats on the victory today. Thanks for putting on a show, Prismat, and the floor is yours for shoutouts.
All right, shoutouts to the Octalysis group, and our sponsor, and shoutouts to my team for dealing with double support and still playing well, even though it's not really that fun to play. But it wins games, and that's what matters.
Effective all the way through. Congrats on the victory today, Prismat. We'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Well, that was the show. Octalysis continuing to do it their way. That's the only way I know how to put it. It's fun to watch. It's great. I'm glad we got the Butcher game out of the way. Look, that's a one-time. I'm okay with that. I'm satisfied for the rest of the year. But Octalysis, they look great. LFM, we already touched on. They need wins. There's a lot still to be done for them. Simplicity still has their chance of holding their fate in their own hands. As long as one of these teams keeps losing, the other team has a chance to climb over them. But Octalysis clearly in the driver's seat in a lot of their games going into the playoffs. And one matchup left against Team Freedom. It's going to be great.
And I'm very happy with a lot of the doubt I kind of shed towards Octalysis and the drafting trends, and it's purely based on I'm a dude who uses history to look towards the future, right? And we have no trending patterns, and I can't find a major argument as to why this should function for how long, right? In their kind of situation. But to hear Prismat be willing to justify it and say, I think the Heroes Hearth was an outlier, that actually means a lot towards the future of this team. I think it shows that they truly do feel, because it is very possible that Hammer, especially how she plays, can manipulate their drafting as heavy as they kind of may have. And that I do think that that shows that this team is going to be a lot healthier mentality-wise. And that drafting, I have a lot more faith going into it. Not based on the level of dominance, but actually purely on those words from Priz.
It's great. Dread's cautiously optimistic every time we talk about it. He's trending more and more. It's wild to watch. I'm right there with you. We have no idea. We've never seen anything like this to where it's such a broad spectrum. When it's more narrow, we know there's a lifespan, but this is such a broader spectrum. It's something unlike you've ever seen in Heroes. It's crazy to watch. Speaking of crazy to watch, we've got Team Freedom versus Heroes Hearth later, right after this break. Don't touch that browser. We'll be right back with one heck of a series.